Hey everyone, it's Bill from Crooked Acres. Welcome back to the homestead. So what I'm going to start on today is plowing this area of land that we've got adjacent to our pole barn, and we're going to use it to expand our garden. So I know I said in a video last fall, I think it was called Homestead Plan, something like that, that we were going to move the entire garden from in the back to over here. We've decided not to do that. We're going to keep that garden in the back, and we're going to expand and put a second garden over here. So Tracy's got a bunch of flowers she wants to put in a giant flowering garden with all these different things she's got, and I've already seeded and started a lot more vegetables than I have in the past, so we need more area basically. So what we're going to plow up here is about 120 feet by 30 feet. I'm not sure exactly how much of that we'll use for garden. We're going to kind of play it as we go here. But I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take the tractor, I'm going to get the plow hooked up. Come along and I'll show you how we're going to do this. So I've got the plow all hooked up. That can be a touch laborious when you're all by yourself. But it's 3-point plow, one bottom plow. Was a 2-bottom, but somebody cut the other bottom off, turned into a 1 for whatever reason. But I just found it on the roadside and bought it off a guy a couple years back now. So works real well for what we need it for. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to head over to where we're going to be working, and we'll have to adjust our depths and all that once we get going over there. But yeah, everything's all hooked up and we're going to start going. All right, so I did about 5 swipes with the plow down this way and then back on that side. You know, that gives you a better idea how big the area is. I finally got my depth figured out, I think. But it's going all right. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to knock this off, and then hopefully in the next couple days or so, depending on the weather, I can get the discs hooked up and get this disc. So I'm going to go ahead and continue. I will show you when we are complete. All right, we've got it all done. About an hour and a half in the tractor seat, maybe slightly more. So now I'll let that sit for a day, 2, depending on the weather, and then we'll get the discs hooked up and start going over with that. All right, so today, because the weather's garbage outside again, I'm gonna go ahead and start repotting our tomato plants. So our tomato seedlings. So they've come up pretty nice, and I'll get you close up. But they're starting to get a bit leggy, so I'm gonna go ahead and get these planted, transplanted into the bigger cups that I use, and we'll plant them nice and deep so they're not as leggy, and I'll show you that as we go. Now what I've done, I've got my paper on my table to save that, and then I use these styrofoam cups, and what I do is I label the cups as to what tomato plants going in them, and then I can lay them out on trays and put them under my grow lights. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on that. I'll show you how we do it, and yeah, we're gonna get this done today. All right, so just a quick explanation before I get started. Like I said, I do label my cups with the tomato that's gonna go in them. Another thing I do is I take a pen and I poke a hole in the bottom. You wanna have a hole in the bottom so it can drain the water if they're overwatered. I'm gonna fill this up about halfway with soil, maybe a little less. I'm gonna put a little water in there. Then I'm gonna put the rest in with my plant. And again, tomatoes we will plant real deep so they root well for us. We'll plant them deep in these cups, and then when we do take them into the garden, we'll plant them deep once again, and that provides a real good root system. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I'll show you how we do it. All right, so like I said, I fill my cup about halfway. I like to moisten the soil in there, and you don't have to put a whole lot of water in here. You're just gonna get it a little damp. It doesn't have to be crazy wet in there. You're gonna water it on top. I've pulled out my cherry tomato plants, my seedlings. Now, as you can see, the second set of leaves has started to form on there, and that's usually when I transplant them from these pea pods to the bigger cups once they get that second set of leaves. The vast majority, well, pretty much all of them have it, so that's when I'm gonna go ahead. It's usually my clue as to when to get them planted in the bigger cups. So let me show you how we do that. So basically, I know they say you don't have to tear this wrapper off the pea pods, but I do. Again, I'm gonna plant it nice and deep. Pat it down a little bit. Don't ever worry about planting it too deep with tomatoes. There's no such thing. So as you can see, the original plant was about that long, and now I've only got it sticking out about that much, and that's perfectly fine. And I'm going to take my water and just put a little bit on top, just to moisten that soil down a little bit. And with the hole in the bottom of the cup, when we get them in the trays, we will water them from the bottom also. So that's the first one done. Go ahead and do the rest just like that. And I'll bring it back when we got a bunch. I'll show you how I tray them up and all that. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these done. So there's the finished product, 11 cherry tomato plants. We'll give some away. Well, I'll probably only keep a couple or 3 at the most because they're big producers. But they'll stay in those cups now until they're ready to go in the garden. They will get to about 8 or 10 inches high before they do get in the garden. But we got 11 of them all potted. Next, I'm gonna move over to our paste and Better Boy tomatoes. Those first 2 rows there, those last 2 rows in the middle there are not tomatoes. Those are gonna stay for now. Put them in my trays and then set them under the heat lights, and I will show you what we got when we're all set. All right, so I have finished transplanting the tomatoes. 50 total plants. Might be a little over, but like I said, I give some away. I have started working on the jalapenos that I got now. I've got a bunch of those to transplant into the cups. So I'll continue working on that. And I've got all my brassicas over here. These are going to go outside tomorrow because the weather's getting better, and I've got a tray of onions there. So the kitchen's starting to look like a greenhouse, but things are progressing nicely. So here's what the final product looks like all under the grow lights. As you can see, all the different cups. I've also got a couple trays yet that I've got to do, but that right there, just so you get ideas how I set them up. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this video here. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. Share it with friends, family, neighbors, whoever you think's into this sort of stuff. And I'll catch you on the next one.